Political head of Tibetans in exile has welcomed a legislation passed by the U.S. Congress that reaffirms the rights of Tibetans to choose a successor to their highest spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama. The Tibet Policy and Support Act, or the TPSA, makes it official United States policy that decisions regarding the successor of the Dalai Lama are exclusively within the authority of the current Dalai Lama, Tibetan Buddhist leaders as well as the Tibetan people. Any interference by the Chinese Communist Party officials is likely to be met with serious sanctions and be deemed inadmissible into the United States. Lobsang Sangay, the president of the Tibetan Civil Administration, or TA, which is known as the Tibetan government in exile, that is, called the legislation historic in nature. He says that this is a victory for the Tibetan spiritual movement and for their freedom struggle.
Tibetan Policy and Support Act 2020 is part of the appropriation bill. House and Senate will debate and very likely pass by midnight or go on till Wednesday. I have been in DC for the last 5 days, closely overseeing, and finally good to see efforts bearing fruit.
The move by the U.S. administration has infuriated China. China maintains that its leaders have the right to approve the Dalai Lama's successor, and many see this as a coercive attempt by Beijing to control Tibet, where ethnic Tibetans make up about 90% of the population. China has shown that it is willing to crush any Tibetan opposition. In 1995, Chinese authorities allegedly abducted a 6-year-old boy, Dun Chokhil Nima. He had been considered a reincarnation of the second highest ranking figure in Tibetan Buddhism, the Panchen Lama. The boy has never been heard of since, while China appointed its own Panchen Lama in the region. However, the Tibet Policy and Support Act, or the TPSA, promises to give the power back to the Tibetan people and the Dalai Lama to choose his successor. Expectedly, the Chinese Foreign Ministry has accused the U.S. of meddling in its internal affairs. Beijing has warned the U.S. of signing the legislation into law.
In the past 4 years, under the leadership of Pompeo, the U.S. has weaponized its visa policy and has, under the pretext of so-called Hong Kong-related, Xinjiang-related, Tibet-related, religious and human rights issues, continuously imposed visa sanctions on Chinese personnel. Such relevant actions have seriously interfered in China's internal affairs.
Environmental groups and Tibetan rights activists have also expressed concern about China's hydropower ambitions in Tibet. They allege Chinese overexploitation could affect the water supply downstream. The U.S. legislation also proposes a regional framework on water security and greater participation from the community in dialogue with China on monitoring the region's environment and resources. The bill reads, and I quote, "The People's Republic of China has already completed water transfer programs, diverting billions of cubic meters of water yearly, and has plans to divert more water to the Tibetan Plateau in China." China seized control of Tibet after its troops entered the region in 1950. China calls it a, quote, peaceful liberation. However, Tibet has since become one of the most restricted and sensitive areas in the country and the world. The Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, fled into exile in India in 1959 to escape persecution by Beijing after a failed uprising against Chinese rule. China regards the exiled Dalai Lama as a separatist. The current Dalai Lama is 85 years old and his successor would be needed by the Tibetan people.
Co-presented by Skoda. Simply clever.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.